Hey everyone, Jaris here from Fandom Knitting and Crochet. Today I'm going to show you the way I do the crocodile stitch. It's also sometimes called the scale stitch, and this is my method. So I use this stitch in my Madame Mermaid scarf pattern, but it is also in a lot of different projects that you can make. So I'm going to go ahead and show you my method. I like to do multiple of 6 chains plus 3 more. I use my turning chain as a stitch, so I'll show you what I mean by that. But go ahead and chain your multiple of 6 plus 3. So I'm going to go with 15. I'm just using a J hook and a medium weight yarn, but you would of course want to use whatever materials your particular pattern calls for. So there's 6 stitches, 9, 12, and I'll do 3 more for my extra 3 stitches. So always a multiple of 6, and then I add 3 for the chain. So next you're going to double crochet in the 6th chain from your hook. So you're going to count back 6 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I like to work through this back hump. I think it makes a nice flat edge and it just looks really clean, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm actually going to do 2 double crochets in that exact same stitch. So what I have here is my turning chain is going to function as a double crochet and some spaces. And then I've got 2 double crochet in this stitch, and I'm going to continue in this pattern, alternating between double crochet, spaces, 2 double crochet, spaces, and so on. So from here you're going to chain 1, skip 2 chains, and double crochet in the next. And that's only 1 there because we just did 2 here. So then chain 1, skip 2, and now you're going to make 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and you're going to start to see this pattern emerge. This is our first row for the crocodile stitch. Crocodile stitch actually takes 2 rows to make. So this first row is kind of like our foundation or our setup row, and then the next row is where we'll actually be making the scales. Okay, so then from here you're going to want to chain 1, skip 2, and then in your last chain stitch you're going to make a double crochet. So what I'm going to end up with, and that's kind of a small spot there we go, is a foundation row of double crochets with spaces, and it alternates. So 1 double crochet, 2, 1, 2, 1. Now, depending on how many stitches you started with in your chain, you might end up with 2 there or 1 there, and vice versa. It doesn't matter as long as you kind of follow this structure of alternating per row. So because we have just a double crochet at the end here, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're just going to slip stitch into that first double crochet. Okay, so this row we're going to have slip stitches in our double crochets, and we're going to work our scales into these pairs of double crochet. So we're actually only going to have 2 scales in this row because there's 2 pairs of double crochet. So to do the scale, you're going to double crochet around these double crochets. So we're going to start at the top of this one, and we're going to make 5 double crochet stitches down to the bottom. Okay, so what you do is you wrap the yarn over like you're going to do a double crochet, and it's just like back post double crochet. So what I mean by that is you're going to go in this way around, and you're going to come up in the middle of those 2 double crochets, and that is where you're going to make your double crochet stitch. And you're going to do that 5 times, working your way down. So there's 1, here's 2, see I'm coming through the middle of those 2 stitches there, and I'll make my 5. So I'll go ahead and add all 5 of those. There's 3, 4, and 4. My yarn's splitting a little bit on me. Don't like that. Okay, now we have kind of this wall of double crochet stitches kind of sticking out there, and we're going to work up the other side of the scale with this next double crochet post. So this was a pair of double crochets here, remember, in the same stitch. Now we're going to work from the bottom up, making 5 double crochets around this post. So we're at the bottom here, and I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to go around that post of the double crochet. So let me show you again, working my way around this double crochet, yarned over so I can do my stitch, my double crochet, go in this way. You're going to poke the hook through the middle of those 2 double crochets again, and you're going to make 5 double crochets right here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now our first scale is made. So it looks like this little crocodile stitch scale, okay? And it's kind of hanging out there, sticks out a little bit. It's great texture. And to move down the line to the next, we're going to work into this double crochet here, and we're just going to slip stitch into it. And it just kind of moves us down the line to make our next scale. So here's our pair of double crochets, and I'm going to do that 5 double crochets down the first double crochet post. So I'm going to go all the way down with 5 of those. And then remember, when we're at the bottom, then we just go up the next double crochet from the bottom to the top. So 5 more double crochets around that post. So each scale has 10 double crochets on it, which means this stitch is a yarn eater and it is a time consumer, but it is super, super cool and a fun texture and worth it. So next you're going to have just this one single double crochet. Basically, it's a double crochet, but there's only one of them here. You're going to slip stitch into the top of that, and then you've got your row done. So it's a 2-row pattern to get these scales. So we have 2 scales here. This is what it looks like from the back, and it's kind of important to note this, that these double crochets from your foundation before are going to be kind of markers for you going in this next row. So when we're at the end of our row, we've created our scales, you are going to chain 1 and turn, and I actually want to chain 2 more, so it's a total of 3 there, and I'm going to double crochet into that same space. So I'm like right above this double crochet, and this is setting me up to make a scale right here on the edge. So I've got that chain 3, and then I double crocheted there, so that's my pair of double crochets. You're going to notice that the scales are going to kind of alternate. So in the first row we had 2, the next row we're going to have 3, and they're going to kind of stagger along. So at this point you're going to chain 1. We're doing the foundation row again, so this will look kind of familiar. Chain 1, and we're going to do 1 double crochet right in the center of that previous scale, chain 1, and we're going to find the top of the double crochet that's kind of hanging out back there, and we're going to make 2 double crochets into that right in the top of that stitch area. So go ahead and make 2, and you're going to see our foundational pattern is forming again. So this time we've got 2 space 1 space 2, chain 1, you're going to make a double crochet right in the middle again of that previous scale, chain 1, and then see where that double crochet is, you're going to make 2 right on top of that at the end of your row here. So it's kind of hard sometimes to get into that stitch, but that's where we want it. 2 there. And we have a foundation for another row of scales. Now at this point, what you're going to do is chain 1 and turn, and you're set up to make some scales again. So your scales are going to be here, here, and here. You're going to slip stitch into the double crochets that are alone there, and you're going to see how this ends up being a little bit staggered. So again, we're doing 5 double crochets down that first double crochet post, exactly like we did before when we made the scales. It's just that we have staggered where they're going to show up. So there's that. We're gonna go 5 from the bottom up right here. And I'm going pretty quickly at this point just to show you what it's gonna look like once the scale is made. And then you're gonna just repeat this for row after row, however many rows you need to for your pattern. So it's gonna be that 2-row repeat. But then let me just, when you're done with your scale, you slip stitch into the top of the double crochet. And you can see how it's gonna kind of stagger, and it's gonna make 3 scales this time. Okay, so that is how you make the crocodile stitch.